First outing with the Insta 360. Gonna go out and take a walk around the park. We're on 8K, filming in 360. There's Cara. Caravan in preparation. Festival time. Also a good test of the wind protection, very windy. So I've added some of the wind mufflers. See if they work, see how well they pick up the audio. Masses of butterflies around at the moment. Thought I'd come around and record the route around here because I think this grass is about ready for a cut. Dark hawkweed's going over now. We've had quite a lot of yellow rattle around here. All the yellow you can see here at the moment is a trefoil, I think. Well, the yellow rattle is going to seed. So we need to come out and collect those seeds because we're trying to propagate as much yellow rattle as possible. The foil's gone crazy. There's the yellow rattle down there on the right, going to seed. First time it's come this far up the field. It's lovely to see that purple mixed in with the yellow and white. Really nice colour contrast. Oh, marbled white. Need to get out again with the telephoto and capture a few more of these butterflies. Did it a couple of years ago, but I haven't done it for a little while. I'm sure I've seen some new ones in the past few days. There's a white of some description there. Not sure which. So that's our hay meadow. And this goes back into the park here through the gate. I'm going to take a little detour down to the bottom field. Go through the tunnel here. So we're going under the railway. And this is the access tunnel between the fields, originally intended for the cattle. We don't have cattle here anymore. The access free so we can get through. Had a few fallers here. These are all naturally reseeded false acacias, which are making a new woodland area. But I've been cutting paths up through this area so that we can tour around the other half of the property. So we have an area of 10 acres down here, 4 hectares, which goes all the way down to the river that you can see in the distance. On a hot day like today, I'm going to go up through the covered walk by the fence line. So all these coppiced hazels on the left, some of them need cutting really, but they've all collapsed over and make for a really nice sheltered walkway. Cut a few paths out from underneath here as well, so we can easily access the field. It's lovely to walk through, and if you come down quietly at dusk, it's a good way to sneak up on the deer who are invariably browsing their way around the floodplain. Chestnut tree. So back out into the open, to the full sunlight, negotiate the brambles. Take a little detour now out onto this prairie. This area to the right was cultivated, so it's a bit of monoculture now. The grasses have grown back, and contrast that with this side of the hedge where we can see a lot less vigorous growth, so it hasn't been manured to the same extent, and also a lot more diversity. So there's a bit more competition out here, competition for nutrients, I imagine. So we're seeing some lesser stitchwort and a variety of different thymes, and you get a better view as well of what's going on down on the floodplain, which was clear until relatively recently. It was grazed, but now it's been taken over by willow and birch and blackthorn, and some oaks growing out there as well. So it's turning into a really nice forested floodplain, and the river Dron goes all the way around the edge of the forest in a big loop. And we'll go down to the Dron in a minute and have a look at the Dron itself. I'm amazed at the variety of these thymes. There's at least two. I wonder if there's three different thymes flying there. Lots of broom. Some nice thistles in amongst the grasses there as well. And I've made a point of ring fencing the bramble patches. It's good to have the brambles, but I don't want them taking over the whole field. So I've made a point of mowing around them to stop them encroaching any further. So getting pretty hot here now. So damselfly there, and let's just go through this gap that we've created, and we can go down. Oh, well, we could do if it hadn't been taken over by brambles. Let's come through and clear these up. In fact, Cara warned me that the brambles were taking over again. We're still on our property here. Path we've cleared that we have to keep clearing to keep the bracken and the brambles down. But this takes us all the way down into the Amazon. Gareth, who we bought the property from, used to call this the Amazon. It's like a tropical forest down here. Again, quite a nice variety of wetland plants down here in this case, and it is pretty wet. Oh, nice damselfly there. Stand a good chance of sinking up to my knees. We have put various bits of wood down here to help us get across the marshy bit, but that's really marshy at the moment. And here we are down at the resting place, my favourite hammock trees. Again, the damselflies down here playing around by the river. Water's gone down quite a lot. We filmed otters down here, so there's definitely otters on this river as well. And the fishermen come down here for the trout and the gudgeon and the perch. It's a pretty healthy river. And this is the Dron that's been recently rewilded. It's had all of its dams and weirs removed in order to reinstate the natural flow, so that they can reinstate European mussels, I think, which rely on the migration of the trout. Because the mussels, I believe, spend the first part of their life actually in the gills of the trout. So I think they grew some young mussels, inoculated the trout, then released the trout, and after a while the mussels drop out of the trout and find somewhere to live on the riverbed. Definitely is overgrown down here. It's the trouble when it's hot and wet. Everything grows. That's a good thing too. It's a lovely setting down here. Lots of wildlife. Get the timing right, some amazing hatching of dragonflies is what I'm trying to think of. Little plunge pool here. Favourite spot for the fishermen. Tricky little section. Have to do some acrobatics here to get under this log without falling in. Bit of a scramble where the river has taken out the retaining wall. I've safely navigated that. Back up onto the bank. We can walk across the bridge here and up onto the railway. But I'm going to keep going under the viaduct which carries the railway. And that water's come down a foot. In the past week or so it was up over the edge of the stones on the margins there at one point. But this then is a riverside route created by the commune. So we've just come off of our land now. This is it commune land or SNCF land? I'm really not sure. But this little pathway has been created to allow people coming down the railway on the Velarail, bicycle operated trolleys, to stop off and have a look round. You almost can't see it up there, but there's a rock with a cross on it, a roche qui pleure. So the cross was put up there to stop the ghost of a young lady wandering the woods and bemoaning the loss of her lover, or something like that. Not quite so spectacular today, but I love this riverside walk, either just after dawn or just before dusk, with the light streaming through. It's a little bit overcast at the moment. We do get kingfishers down through here. As I said before, the otters. There was an otter hauling out spot back there, but I haven't seen any sprint there for a while. Wow, this was all clear when I came down a week ago. Brambles grow like crazy. So we're coming up to the remains of a barrier up here now. The other side of the barrier used to be a lake. You can see it here. So the barrier on the other side of the river, you can see where the river goes round the corner. That's where they broke through the barrier to let the river through. That was done some time ago, decades ago. Not necessarily part of the rewilding project, because you can see in the area behind the barrier there's some very old oak trees, several decades in there, I should imagine. We follow the path up round. That brings us back up to the railway. And also these little quarries in the local Cambrian basement rocks, which are used for building. Quite possibly where the stone for our house came from. So back on the railway now. There's a woodland the other side here, which we often walk up round. Different habitats again. Good hunting ground for the raptors. Some clear woodland floors, and a lovely area, actually owned by a Monsieur Belarbre, which is a very appropriate name, Mr. Goodtree. And this is the railway that used to go all the way to Oradour sur Ver, where I think there was a nail factory or something, and the train basically used to bring the products out from the factory to the main line, which is behind me now. But I'm always astonished when I walk down through here at all these young trees. Loads of chestnut saplings here. They won't survive the high heat of the summer, but every year they try. I'll just drop over the other side, because of course over here are hundreds of oak saplings. So there's a veritable carpet of oak saplings up here. Again, they won't survive the summer heat and the desiccation. And in fact, these I think are imported Canadian oak, which is what the plantation is mostly. So vigorous enough to get established, but not vigorous enough to survive the hot summer. And here's the view from the viaduct that we walked under just now, up into the forest, over into the forest on the other side, and just through the trees there you can see the park for our next door neighbour's chateau. So we have some very nice neighbours in the chateau with a 16th century core, which we believe was a hunting lodge, and various 17th and 18th century additions. Lovely park area with some specimen trees. But this railway goes all the way from the camping ground and the municipal lake at Bouziers-Galant, the Plan d'Eau, Espace Hermeline. Lots of people, there's a beach up there, people spend their days on the beach, camping and so on. And this rail runs all the way to Chalut, good 5 kilometres. And in fact, just up ahead of us where we're going to go through the level crossing, I think there's a 2.5 kilometre marker. So we're about halfway along the line. So the tourists come along here in the summer every 2 hours, there and back again on the pedal carts, supposedly to enjoy the countryside, but there's so much screaming and shouting going on that I'm sure all the wildlife is gone well in advance of them arriving. Still, it's good that people are out and about in the countryside. So now I'll just dip back up through the level crossing. So over on our left was our meadows on the riverside that we went through just now. Now over on our right, I'm going nipping through the corner of the Chateau Park. So you can see this area, this meadow is ripe for cutting as well. That'll be cut for hay quite soon. We can nip through here, back into the corner of our property. Come through the gate here, and on our left we have a pêcherie, and we believe that's where the original proprietors of the chateau would have kept their fish. And it's a long-lived pêcherie. Oh, there's my latest wildlife camera there. Actually captured quite a lot of deer here, red deer, roe deer. They come in and out over that wall and tour around our park area. But this pêcherie is actually on the 1805 Napoleonic charts, so it's been around for quite a while. So we're now into the park. Another covered walkway that we've created to keep us out of the sun. We've created numerous paths just to break up the prairie area. All these trees down on the left, all self-seeded, so that's becoming a oak, hazel forest. A little bit of blackthorn. Actually, I'll go down this way. Trying to manage it in different domains. This domain down here is dominated by apple mint. The smell is amazing, especially if you walk through the middle of it. It was covered with butterflies earlier on, but the sun's gone now, so they've pushed off. But when the flowers come out, that will be astonishing. Take a hike up through here under the old walnut tree onto the plateau. We've sort of created areas here for camping, so when anybody comes to visit, we've got some areas prepared where you can put your camper van, stick your tent, and that brings us full circle then back up to the back garden of the house. Usually snakes along this wall, whip snakes, collared grass snakes that live under the terrace. And here we are, back in the garden. I think if the storm's not going to happen, it's maybe time for a swim.